So I think my second video of the night is going to be on forgiveness. I've come into contact with a lot of people who um, are kind of having a tough time with forgiveness. Um, I myself struggle with it in the beginning. Forgiveness, like any other step of change or growth, it's not easy. Forgiveness really it's about going to people, really forgiveness and apologizing. Both of those really kind of go hand in hand, and with both you have to go to people, those that you've hurt, including yourself, and really explain to them that it takes admitting guilt. It takes admitting that you are not the person you may have appeared to be at one time or another. And really, the one thing I found myself in fault of when I first started this journey was I forgave people in hopes that I would be forgiven. I had a lot of guilt inside my heart and my soul, from some of the decisions I made, from the things I've done, from the hurt that I caused people. And I figured that if I could be forgiven for some of my shortcomings, maybe that guilt would start to cease, or maybe even be rid of completely. So I found myself forgiving those who had hurt me, really with no premonition behind it, except to be forgiven myself. And people, they really have this ability to know when you're sincere and when you're not. And the one thing that people have a very difficult time with is anything that's done that's not sincere, and as should be. If you're not sincere about something, then you should be held accountable for that. And really, there's two types, there's two groups of people that you need to forgive. One is yourself, and the other group is anybody else who has caused you pain or hurt you, led you astray, or helped put you in those terrible situations you found yourself in, or aided in the bad decisions or bad judgment. So I'm going to start with forgiving yourself, but in order to do that, I need to touch on something when it comes to forgiving other people. And like I said, you can't forgive if the only reason to forgive is not to be forgiven yourself. And I found that the two main ways to forgive anybody, there has to be, whether it's other people or yourself, there has to be a conscious decision to work towards whatever mistakes have happened, a conscious decision to work away from those mistakes, to work away from that negative mindset or attitude, if you will. So really, the two ways to forgive anybody is to either cut them out of your life completely, to where they no longer have that ability to hurt you again. And I touched on this in my last video. There's going to be people in your life that you're going to have to say goodbye to. That's just the way it goes. The other way to forgive is when somebody has showed you that they've changed. They've changed enough that you don't necessarily have to worry about them ever making those decisions again, or that they don't want to hurt you, and they're not going to hurt you. Because if those things are not being done, if conscious decisions towards a better you or a better them is not being reached for, then they will make the same mistakes, they will hurt you again, and you will feel betrayed that they went back on their word. Now, with that being said, when you're forgiving yourself, there is no cutting yourself out of your life. I mean, when it comes to forgiving yourself, there's only one way around that, and that is to make the changes. to make great decisions, to understand the pain you've caused in the past, to understand the decisions that led to that pain, and to work consciously and constantly to correct those decisions. Not the decisions you made in the past, but the decisions going forward. Now, I'm going to make another video on getting past the past, another terribly difficult part of change. But as far as forgiveness goes, you can't, the decisions you've made, the situations you found yourself in, the hurt you've caused, that's a part of you forever. There is nothing you can do about whatever you did in the past. You are stuck with that for the rest of your life. And that really is one of the fabulous things about change is no longer doing those negative things, no longer making those bad decisions. Whatever negativity is in your life from the past, that literally can be all the negativity, all the bad decisions you'll ever have in your life if you can stick to your new values, if you can stick to your new way of change. So back to forgiving yourself. Once you start to go back and you start to understand the decisions that you made, once you start to understand the situations and environments and the steps leading up to that decision, once you start convincing yourself, once you start seeing in yourself that you no longer make those bad decisions, then you can forgive yourself, because they're not empty promises anymore. You know that whatever decisions you made, whatever judgments you made that hurt not only you but hurt others, you can start going forward with confidence that you're not going to make those mistakes again. And really, that's where I believe a lot of people struggle with forgiveness, is because they are scared to forgive anybody because they know they themselves have not worked on themselves towards a person that they are comfortable with in themselves and forgiving. So forgiving yourself is the crucial first step, because if you are not convinced yourself, if you have not proven to yourself that you've changed enough to forgive yourself, there's no way you can even start to forgive anybody else. If you haven't figured out how to forgive yourself, you're not going to be able to forgive anybody else. And really, my last video, when I talked about just making better decisions, just understanding how you got in those terrible situations, that's the key to forgiveness, because you've got to learn to quit making mistakes before you can forgive yourself. You will just continue to let yourself down. Your confidence and self-worth will plummet, and you won't feel like you're even worthy of forgiveness. And the same thing goes with forgiving other people. If they are toxic, or if they are just addicted to chaos, there's no sense in forgiving them, because they are going to come back and hurt you. Now, if you're willing to cut these people out of your life, if you are willing to just sever ties, and it doesn't have to be a negative thing. I mean, you don't have to set them down and go, "Hey, I'm never dealing with you again. I don't want you to ever come around." There are subtle, unaggressive ways to do that. I mean, you just don't answer the text. You just don't answer the phone. You work on you before you deal with everybody else. You don't have to go to people and tell them you forgive them. You just have to forgive them in your heart. And once you come to the understanding that person will never be able to hurt you again, you'll find it's very easy to forgive. Now the other way around that is, if the people who have hurt you, if they have showed that they're changing, if they show a sense of responsibility and accountability for what they've done, they understand what they've done, then that's forgivable. That's, we all make mistakes. And that's the important part about forgiveness when it comes to other people. Just like we've done things to hurt other people and really not realized it, those other people, probably when they hurt you, they didn't know. They didn't understand what they were doing. They didn't realize that what they were doing was going to hurt you. So you can't go into forgiveness of other people with a heavy heart or with judgment in mind, because there's a good there's a good chance that they really didn't know. They didn't know about change, or they didn't know where they was at in life. Um, so, and you don't have to go to somebody and tell them you forgive them. More than likely, they're not going to want to hear the fact that they did something wrong to you. They hurt you. They're not going to understand why you even have to forgive them. But there are people I've found in my change. There has been a couple of people that know that they hurt me, and they had a great guilt in their heart the same way that I did. And a couple of those people I kept in my life, and a couple of those people I completely severed ties with. But a couple of those people, they meant a lot to me, and I did not want them living the rest of their life with guilt in their heart that I held a grudge or I hadn't forgiven them. So, I went to those folks and I said, I forgive you. Whatever guilt or pain you have in your heart, I don't want my unforgiveness to be part of that. So, I forgive you. And, if things ever change with you, or you get to a good place in life, or you're ready to maybe make a journey, come see me, come find me, let's talk. But until that, I can't allow you to be in my life while I'm trying to make these changes myself. And those people really understood that, and those people really respected me for that. There was a couple people that I tried to walk up and talk to about forgiveness, and I mean, it almost started a fight. They were offended at the fact that I could even suggest that maybe they had done something to hurt me. They hadn't started a journey of change, so everything was everybody else's fault. And I wasn't prepared for that. So you have to be prepared for really any reaction. The same way with apologies. Some people, when you apologize to them, they'll accept your apology just to, because they believe you. They want to think, or maybe you've shown them that your apology really means something. That you've come to them and said, "Hey, I apologize, and this is where I was at, and this is where I am now, and this is where I'm going, and here's my plan." And when you can really break it down for people like that, most people are open to at least hear where you're heading in life. Some people, it's going to take a long time for them to get past and heal from the hurt that you've caused, months, years. Some people, they see you walking into the same grocery store they were going to go into. They'll turn around and go down the street, or they'll wait till tomorrow to go. I mean, that's the depth of pain that I had caused some people. And some people will just be spiteful their whole life. They will never want to hear from you again, no matter what, because they just hold a grudge, because they're just that angry. And we all know where that comes from. When when we start this journey, we all will feel anger and hate and spitefulness towards somebody until we get it figured out. So, I'm probably going to touch a little bit more on forgiveness as more of I'm still understanding forgiveness, because there are still people in my life who they do not forgive me, and they may never forgive me for the pain I've caused them. Me personally, I think that I have forgiven just about everybody in my life that has caused me pain. I have forgiven myself for 90% of the things that I've done to other people. So we'll just go from there, and we'll see where the next one leads us. Stay positive, and a win is a win. Be fair to yourself, be fair to everybody else, and until next time.